guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you guys can see, I am chilling in my living room again, and that is where I'm going to be for today's video. So this is actually the second time I've tried to film this video for you guys. The first time I filmed it, it was over 45 minutes long. There's just so much information, and you guys know I love to talk. So I'm going to try and make this video short and sweet, but I do not think it's going to be short at all, so probably like long and sweet, but I'm going to do my best to make it not quite that long this time. So I have no idea what I titled this video, but whatever I titled it, it is about Milo and also a little bit Dixie, but mostly Milo and dogs in general, because there has been a lot of people, a lot of you guys that watch me who have reached out to me in the past few months, really in the past year, but ever since probably about July, I've had several people reach out to me about this particular topic. However, it's also related to a vet visit that I had with Milo almost 2 weeks ago now. I didn't take you guys to the vet with me that day. I didn't vlog it or talk to you guys about it or anything, because after the vet visit, everything kind of hit the fan, if you know what I mean, and everything has really went downhill from there. It was a huge mess, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, the majority of this video, I do want to talk to you guys about vets and DCM and dogs, the FDA study and all of that and how all that's related. It's honestly going to be a long video. Like, I don't really know how I'm going to be able to shorten it, but I promise I will try to stay focused and stay on topic. For any of you who are here and watching, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe down below and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos or updates on this topic. Also, quick disclaimer, I am not a vet. I'm not a vet tech. I'm not a vet. I've never worked at a vet's office. I'm not a professional. I'm just someone who does a lot of research, a lot of reading. I talk to lots of friends who have dogs. I talk to lots of vets. I talk to everyone. I do a lot of research myself. I've also read this particular FDA study many times, the one that we're going to be talking about today, because I've had so many of you guys ask me about it. You want my opinion. You want to know if I've switched Milo off of Merrick or Whole Earth Farms and where we're at. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Let me get some coffee in me before we get started. Okay, so first I want to share with you guys a comment that I got today from someone who watches my videos. This person said, "Hey, I've been following your videos on YouTube regarding the Whole Earth Farms hearty chicken stew and have been giving my Yorkie the same recipe. I recently had a trip to the vet and they told me to stay away from grain-free because a new study shows that grain-free diets is causing heart problems and other issues for dogs. Did you switch or are you still feeding Whole Earth Farms chicken stew?" So when I got this comment today, I was honestly not surprised to see it. I knew exactly what this comment was referring to. I've received this comment many times. I've also received a lot of tweets about this. I've received a lot of DMs about this, comments on my videos and everything. This is definitely a comment that I've gotten a lot, but I've never actually addressed on my channel because with this FDA study being ongoing, and it is still ongoing, I have been waiting for an end result or a conclusion or something definitive or something tangible and definitive before I made a video on. And I just feel like it's time to make the video even though we don't have a conclusion on this study. So that's why I wanted to make it today. So to give you guys a little bit of background on this FDA study, now I'm not going to go over the entire study here in this video because we would be here all day, but I will link this FDA study and the findings and also the fact down in the description below if you're interested. I will have all of those resources down there, as well as probably a bunch more that I'll be mentioning in this video. But in a nutshell, in 2018, the FDA announced that they were going to be doing an in-depth study into dogs' diets, specifically grain-free diets, and the possible causation of DCM in dogs, which is dilated cardiomyopathy, which is enlarging of the heart. The reason the FDA decided to launch this investigation was because there were over 500 and something different dogs all over the US who had DCM, and their vets called and reported the DCM to them, and it just launched a huge study into whether or not grain-free diets cause DCM in dogs. It is still ongoing. It has not been proven as of right now, December 1st, 2019, filming this video. I have not seen any updates on the study since I believe July, which was the last update, which I'll have linked down below, which basically just said that even though they looked at all 500 and something cases and they looked at all the correlating factors between all 500 and something dogs, they did extensive graphs. They had all the different dog breeds, they had their ages, they had all of the different types of foods that they ate. They even did differences between which ones were eating dry, wet, and raw. Every type of graph you can imagine. The FDA really did a good job on this study. So far, as of right now, they have not conclusively said that grain-free causes DCM in dogs. And that is truly the takeaway that I'm hoping to get across in this video whenever we're talking about whether or not grain-free diets cause this, because This is something that a lot of vets are telling their patients at the moment, which we're gonna dig further into in just a second. One thing I wanna mention is correlation does not equal causation. Just because a bunch of dogs could be eating grain-free, it doesn't automatically mean that that grain-free diet is what is causing something like DCM in dogs. And that's essentially the basis of this study and what the FDA is trying to figure out. But just keeping that in mind, that correlation does not equal causation, I think that's really important, especially when you're keeping an open mind and waiting for the end results of this study. Okay, so now that I've given you a little bit of background on that FDA study, I want to tell you guys about what happened about 2 weeks ago with Milo. I'm going to try and keep it short, but it was a lot. Like I said, it was a long 2 weeks we had with him, and also Dixie in the end, which I'll tell you about it. So, long story short, 2 weeks ago, I decided to take Milo for a routine vet visit. There was no particular reason I was taking him other than I wanted to get a checkup, and I also personally wanted to get an x-ray of Milo's heart, lungs, abdomen, and everything, basically just a full abdominal x-ray, so that I could have those x-rays going forward. Now you're probably like, why would you do that? X-rays are so expensive, and you're right, they are. However, Milo is getting older. He is now 11 years old as of this month, which is insane. And we have never gotten full x-rays of him head to toe before in his life. So I decided I wanted to go in, and while I was there getting that visit, I also decided to get that precautionary x-ray, which is what I call it, even though it's very expensive. God forbid something goes wrong with Milo in a year or two as he gets even older. I would love to have an old x-ray to compare new x-rays to in the future, so that I can really see what's changed. How is he doing right now? Is everything looking good? It's just something that I felt like doing as precaution. Now I will say, I knew going into this that asking a vet to do a precautionary test on anything is going to open up a door for them to also give you their opinion of said test, whether it be blood tests, x-rays, etc. They're going to tell you what they think, what they see, or whatever. And I knew this, I expected this going into it, and it was fine. So I really had no reservations about doing the x-ray. For anyone worried where the story is going, Milo is here, he's happy, he's fine, he's a good boy. I love you, you good boy. So when the vet finally came in the room, Patrick and I were sitting there, and she had the x-ray results, and before she showed us the results, the first words out of her mouth when she walked in were,
"So are you aware that there's a study showing that grain-free diets is causing DCM in dogs?"
Right out of the gate, I knew where she was going with this, so I very politely stopped her right there, and I said, so I am aware of that FDA study. I am aware that it is still ongoing. I'm also aware that Milo eats Merrick and raw. Only 16 out of over 500 of the cases in the study ate Merrick. Only about 9 of them actually ate raw. The vast majority, in fact, over 400 of the 500 cases that were in that study ate dry kibble, and Milo eats wet can and raw food and account for less than 20 of the cases that was in that study of over 500 dogs. So I didn't feel as though that was something that I should be concerned about at this time, as that study is still ongoing. I had a lot of people tell me that their vets had brought this up to them, so I kind of expected it going in. I assumed that she would probably mention it. So I was just knowledgeable of the study. I've read it many, many times. I had the facts right off, and I think that's really important, just in case you have a vet that maybe may misinform you. I'm not saying that all vets are going to misinform you. I'm not saying not to listen to your vet, but what I'm saying is I do think it's important to just be knowledgeable before you go into a vet visit, just so that you're armed with the same knowledge that they are about things they may mention to you. That's all. After I politely responded and made her aware that I'm very, very knowledgeable of that particular FDA study that I told you guys about, she was like, okay, well, I can see you're very well versed in it, so let's look at the x-ray. And while we were looking at the x-ray, obviously I'm not a vet, I'm not an expert, I don't know exactly what I'm looking at, you know, I mean, I can't read an x-ray like a professional radiologist or a vet or something. So all in all, basically what she said is that she believed Milo had fluid in his lungs and that he had an enlarged heart, and that's what was causing it. So obviously this was alarming. Patrick, I could see the worry. Oh my goodness, bless Patrick. He loves Milo so, so much. We both do, but Milo's his baby, you know, too. And so I could see the panic and the worry in Patrick's eyes, and I just put my hand on him and I was like, it's okay. calm down, Milo's fine, you know, let's just take a breath because there appears to be no symptoms going on of fluid in the lungs. Let's just take a breath, okay? Like, I think he's okay. So anyway, she went on to say that she believes that she saw fluid in his lungs, and she was pointing at the x-ray and she was pointing at his heart and saying that it was slightly enlarged, and then she went on to make her recommendation of a prescription diet by Royal Canin for cardiac health. As well as she prescribed him a diuretic called furosemide, I believe is the name. Yes, she prescribed furosemide. I have the pill right here. She also went on to prescribe him, some cardiac health prescription food. So I figured that she probably would, which again, that is absolutely fine. I respect her opinion. So she prescribed him prescription food. I told her that I chose not to feed prescription foods. I didn't want a prescription for prescription food. I personally don't like to choose that as a first route. I would much prefer to do my research first before changing my dog's diet like that or putting them on medicines or anything like that. She also recommended that I start Milo on heart medication, which, if you know anything about heart medication, essentially once a dog is started on heart medication for a heart problem, they can never go off of it. Typically, the dog is on that medication for the rest of their life, and I've read this before and I've researched it. So I asked her, I said, if we start Milo on heart medications for his slightly enlarged heart that you believe you see, will he ever be able to go off of those medications? And she said, no, these medications would be for life. So that was really alarming, and so that was obviously something I was not prepared to do. So I declined the heart medication to this very nice vet. I also declined the prescription food for his heart. However, she did send me home with the furosemide because she said he had fluid in his lungs. So a diuretic, which would cause him to basically flush all the fluid out of his system, would get rid of any fluid in his lungs. So I took the pills home. However, I decided not to give them to him. So we left the vet. Unfortunately, and this is a side note that does not have to do with this main part of the story really, but also it does because it's kind of where everything started going downhill. Within 24 to 36 hours after that vet visit, Milo started vomiting and diarrheaing all over the house really, really badly. It was terrible. He couldn't hold his bowels in. He couldn't keep from vomiting. He couldn't keep any food or water down. We ended up having to take him to a second vet, which I was going to anyway for that second opinion of the x-rays. So I took the x-rays to the second vet when I took him in for the vomiting and diarrhea. We ran a fecal on Milo at the second vet. Unfortunately, they said that he caught a virus that's very contagious between dogs. I mean, I just have absolutely no idea how that could have happened. But basically, he had caught it. He was severely sick. And again, that's a side note. And he ended up being sick with that for 3 days. But the second vet gave some really good medicine. But again, let's go back to the x-rays. So we went to that second vet. At that same visit, I had them look at the x-rays. For my second opinion, told me that she did not see any fluid in Milo's lungs whatsoever. And she also didn't see that his heart looked abnormal, but she couldn't be 100% sure, so she wanted to do more x-rays. I decided not to do more x-rays with this vet because x-rays are about $200 each time you do them, so they're very, very expensive. And with Milo getting the vomiting and diarrhea virus mysteriously, and then this being the second vet visit, my bill was racking up really quickly here, so I decided not to do more x-rays. However, I did decide to send the x-rays off for a third opinion at a radiology lab. So basically, this is something you always have an option to do if you ever get x-rays on your pet and you want an expert, unbiased, third-party opinion who is not a vet and who has never seen your animal. Their literal job is to sit in a room, look at the x-rays, draw up a very detailed report, and then send it back to whichever vet sends them off in the first place where you got the x-rays. And they basically will give you an unbiased view and tell you exactly what they see. And they're essentially just a third-party unbiased option if you want to get a really, really, really good look at those x-rays from someone who does it all day, and that's specifically their job. So I decided to go that route because it was about $80 to send that off, so I felt like that was like a better option than getting more x-rays. Meanwhile, back at home, unfortunately, within another 24 hours after that visit, while I was waiting for the third-party opinion on the x-rays of Milo, Dixie ended up getting the same virus, and she had uncontrollable vomiting and diarrhea. This was like the worst week ever, and it was the week before Thanksgiving, so it was 2 weeks ago. It was absolutely horrible. Another thing I didn't mention is the second vet who said that they didn't see any fluid or anything in Milo's lungs. And I asked her when she said that she didn't see any fluid in Milo's lungs, I said, well, then why did the first vet prescribe me furosemide, which is a which is a diuretic. That's a 2-week dose diuretic that would completely flush him of all of his fluids. Not to mention, had I started him on that and he didn't have fluid in his lungs and he now has diarrhea and vomiting, he would have been severely dehydrated. And I mentioned that to the second vet and she said, yeah, it's a really good thing that you didn't give him those. All right then. So I'm very grateful that I followed my gut and I didn't give Milo the pills that the first vet wanted me to, the diuretics, because on top of the vomiting and diarrhea, it would have been really bad. He would have been severely dehydrated. But because I wanted a second and third opinion, I had done my own research of heart failure and what symptoms of fluid in the lungs and things. I was armed with that knowledge going in. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that I knew that going into this, because had I started Milo on those diuretics and then he got the vomiting and diarrhea, it would have been an absolute nightmare. He would have been so unbelievably dehydrated and it would have been like by pill form. So like that would have been very, very bad on him. So again, Dixie was still sick with it. She was also sick with it for about 3 days. We ended up taking her to that second vet as well and got her the same antibiotics, and she was okay after a few days. So we did get those third-party x-ray results back from that third-party radiologist, and not only was there no fluid in Milo's lungs, they said that he looked unremarkable, meaning that his heart was a regular size. It wasn't enlarged in their opinion. He essentially looked healthy, and I'll put that result on the screen for you. You can see it there. So basically it was really good news. I did call the first vet back and I asked for a supervisor, and she was the supervisor, the vet that we saw. So we did go over the results of the third-party radiologist report, and she did see that not only did Milo not have fluid in his lungs, he didn't have an enlarged heart, etc., etc. He didn't need a prescription food, which her and the second vet recommended. I told her that the second vet also told me that Milo didn't have fluid in his lungs, so I asked her why she prescribed me the furosemide if he didn't have fluid, and the first vet promptly told me on the phone, I never said he had fluid in his lungs. And I was like, yes, you did. You prescribed me furosemide. I have it. I have the prescription. I have the prescription right here. You did. You prescribed it. And you prescribed me a prescription food for heart failure. And she essentially very lightly denied it, and that is her right. I don't really know what to say about that. This is gonna sound bad, but like, I think she was just a little defensive. Basically, I went to get a second and third opinion of her first assessment, and I understand she's human. Vets are not infallible, guys. Like, trust your vet, get a good vet, you know, but also arm yourself with that knowledge before going in. And if you're worried or you're having any doubts at all, it's okay to get a second and third opinion, because your animal's life is all that matters. You know, no one's feelings matter. It's about your animal. And that's why it didn't really make sense to me why she was denying that she said that, because she did say that. I don't want to speculate on her. I'm not trying to disparage her. I'm not saying her name or anything like that. It just is what it is. So when Patrick asked me what she said after I talked to her, I told him that she said that she never said he had fluid in his lungs, even though she prescribed us the diuretic for the fluid in his lungs. And Patrick was like, why did she say that? I was standing there like, I don't understand. She did say he had fluid in his lungs. She told us his heart was large. Like, and I was like, I know, honey, I know. Vets do save animals' lives. Vets are so important. A good vet is so important. I have an exotic vet who I absolutely love. He has seen Moo. He saw my gecko. He's done gecko x-rays on Bodhi. He's seen my turtle. Like, he's amazing. I have a great exotic vet. But not all vets are created equal, right? And I'd never seen this particular vet before. I'm not saying that she is not a good vet or whatever. I'm not questioning her motives. But I am saying that I took in a healthy dog for a precautionary x-ray, and I was told that he had DCM potentially, or an enlarged heart, which is what that is, that it was caused by his grain-free diet, that I needed to switch him onto Royal Canin prescription food. I needed to start giving him heart medications. I also needed to give him the prescription food and also a diuretic to flush fluid out of his lungs. So you have to understand my reservation when I take those results and those medication prescriptions and I go to a second vet who tells me the opposite, and then I get a third-party unbiased opinion who tells me that my dog, as I thought, was completely healthy at this particular time. That's where my hesitation came in, and you know, it is what it is. I guess I don't really know how to wrap that up. I mean, that's what happened 2 weeks ago. So Milo and Dixie, luckily, are completely healthy now. everything is fine. No more vomiting and diarrhea as of 3 days after that vet visit. They're both fine now. Milo and Dixie are still currently on their canned Merrick food. I give them white meat recipes. I do the pressure cooked bone in as well as the different types of stews and things that they have. I do love Whole Earth Farms still, but they're having production issues, so I haven't been able to get my hands on it. If it ever comes back, I will switch back to that. However, Milo and Dixie do not only get that. I am also feeding them raw. They get raw every single week. Not every feeding, but every week. They also get partially home cooked as well. I do boil vegetables. I boil chicken. So they have a very big variety. I would say it's like split in thirds. I give them canned food, the Merrick, raw, and then home cooked. And I just like to give them variety so I know they're getting everything they need. Raw is really good for dogs. I really believe that. So I do give both Milo and Dixie raw. And so far they're doing great with those 3 things. So I guess how this all circles back around to the comment I mentioned that I got in the beginning of this video. I've had a lot of people tell me that their vets are warning them against grain-free diets like Merrick, like a lot of other brands. And saying that there is a connection between the grain-free and DCM in dogs. The best thing you can do is to be knowledgeable, read the FDA report for yourself, and to remember a few things about it, okay? Just arm yourself with this knowledge going forward so that there won't be any confusion for you about whether this is true or not. That's like the biggest thing, because obviously we love our animals. We're all worried about this. I completely understand that, but there are some key facts to remember, especially if you have a vet who's telling you this and you're not sure, you're questioning it. Number 1, the FDA study is not conclusive and it is still ongoing and it is not complete yet. Number 2, as of right now, today that I'm filming this video, December 1st of 2019, the FDA has not conclusively found that the correlation between grain-free diets and DCM in dogs is the causation. Correlation does not equal causation. Just because these 500 and something dogs in this study all ate some form of grain-free in about 20 different dog food brands, that doesn't mean that that grain-free diets that they were all on, which was like all these different types of foods, caused the DCM that these dogs ended up having. There are a host of other factors that could have potentially caused this. There is some talk about legumes in food that potentially could have caused it. They're looking into that. Also, how are these dogs bred? Also, all of these dogs were all different ages, all different breeds. We don't know their histories of where these dogs came from. Were they backyard bred? Were they oops litters? Were they from pet stores? We just don't know because it was such a large amount of dogs all over the spectrum. Also, specifically in my case of Milo eating Merrick and raw and home cooked, only about 16 out of the 500 and something dogs in this study ate Merrick, and I believe about 9, I want to say, maybe a few more than 9, ate raw. So you're looking at under 20 of the dogs in this study of over 500 dogs with DCM ate Merrick. So I think those are really important things to keep in mind. Again, go read the study for yourself. There are tons of graphs and you can see where your dog falls on the graph down below. I will leave the links in the description. Also, the study is still ongoing. It is not currently conclusive at this very moment. Now that doesn't mean that that can't change. That doesn't mean that next month they won't say 100% we have found the cause of DCM in all these dogs, but as of right now, I do think it's really important that we are aware of the language we're using when we're talking about this, especially with vets. I personally feel that vets especially have an ethical obligation to be very, very careful and factual about the language that they're using whenever they're discussing this study with owners. And I've had so many people tell me that their vets are just basically saying to them, are you aware, just like my vet said to me, are you aware that grain-free causes DCM in dogs? Because that is technically not a factual statement. There is a study ongoing to see if there is a causation that links to that correlation. However, there have been no recalls thus far of any of the brands that the FDA is looking into. The FDA cannot conclusively say that that is what's causing it, and it is still ongoing. And I think that those are just really, really important things that I wish vets were relaying to their patients. And again, I'm not saying all vets, but I am saying I just wish that more vets were, at least the vets that I'm hearing about and also my own that I've been dealing with over the past couple weeks, I just wish that they were being factual in the language that they were using and not rushing straight to pushing prescription diets. I don't know, that's just my experience, and that's what I've been dealing with the past couple weeks, and what apparently this viewer who left this comment to me today is also dealing with. So it's disappointing, but you know, it is what it is, and that's why I say it's up to us, it's up to you, the owner, to read the FDA study for yourself. If you're worried about this, do your research and arm yourself with the knowledge yourself so that you are ready and you feel confident in doing what's best for your dog, whatever that may be. Whether your dog has a legitimate reason to be on a prescription diet, that is between you, your vet, and your research. I'm not saying that your dog doesn't have a legitimate reason to be on a prescription diet. There is definitely a place for them. I'm absolutely sure of that. However, that is between you and your vet. Just make sure that you're doing your research as well so that you can feel confident in the decision that you're making for your pet's future. Whether that be going with what the vet says, or maybe you're deciding to do your own type of diet, or you've done research that showed you that there may be a better way. Whatever your decision is, just make sure that you do the research yourself. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna wrap the video up here. I can only imagine how long it is. Just remember, I'm not a vet, I'm not a professional. I am not telling you not to listen to your vet or anything like that. I'm telling you to just be knowledgeable before you go in so that you can make the best decisions for your pets going forward. That's all I'm recommending to you. I love you. Yeah. Oh, you good boy. Oh. You know, Milo's getting older, as pets do, and it's so heartbreaking watching them get older. He's doing really good right now. And again, that's not to say that Milo won't develop a heart issue or a lung issue or something like that in the future. Those types of things are unpredictable, and you never know when something can happen. But in terms of the incident that happened 2 weeks ago, I am really grateful that I did get a second and a third opinion, and as of right now, he is completely healthy. His heart is a normal size. He's not coughing, wheezing, he's not lethargic, no distended abdomen. He's doing really good. I don't believe there's any fluid in his lungs. But yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still here, oh my goodness, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a lot of information, and I'm so sorry. I doubt this video was shorter than the first one that I filmed, which was 45 minutes, so this one was probably just as long. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Maiso says hello. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Just remember that I am not a vet. Everything in this video are my own personal thoughts, opinions, and experiences. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Be kind. Bye.